Hello everyone and welcome to 555 Barbershop, your home for comprehensive tutorials on barbering. In this video I'm going to show you how to perform a basic skin fade with a number one on top. This is a detailed video and I'll be explaining each step as we go along. This video features an actual customer in a real-life barbershop environment during normal business hours to give it a realistic feel. As a bonus, I will also be showcasing how to apply a color enhancement. That's the best part, which I've saved for last, so please make sure to watch this video all the way through until the end. Now, without further hesitation or hindrance, let us begin. The first thing to do is to establish your guideline. This is accomplished with a trimmer that is not zero gapped. I then roll it over and make my guideline. I want to know how far up I can go when I'm balding the sides, but I don't want to leave a very hard guideline that will later cause me trouble. If you only have one trimmer to your disposal, I suggest making your guideline using your trimmer right side up instead to avoid making a hard line. In this video, the client has asked me for a basic straight fade, not a drop fade, not a low fade, not a taper, just a basic straight fade. So what I do here is I grab another trimmer. This trimmer that I have in my hand right now is a zero gap trimmer. Now this one is going to get really close to the skin, and the reason why I'm using it is because after this I'm going to go with an electric foil shaver to remove the stubble. Now the electric foil shaver is designed to only remove those really short stubble-like hairs, so I want to make sure that I cut my workload down as much as possible by using a super tight trimmer on the side to bring down the hair. And of course I have my guideline, so I know that I'm not going to go beyond that. This will keep my guideline fairly consistent. The two trimmers I'm using here are both the 22 Stinger bicaliber. Next, I use an electric foil shaver. The foil shaver allows me to bring the hair underneath the guideline all the way down to the bare skin so that it feels smooth to the touch. It's important to get as close as possible to the guideline without actually being on top of the guideline. You want to avoid making any unwanted hard lines with the shaver. It's hard to see, but try to notice how I flick the shaver right out before it touches the guideline. The electric foil shaver that I'm using in this video is called the RPG bicaliber. After the sides have been established, I'm going to now establish the length on top. My client has asked for a number one against the grain of the hair. I'm using a cordless, bulk removing clipper with detachable blades to remove hair quickly and efficiently. You can do this with a regular fading clipper when the blade is fully extended, but I personally prefer the power of this clipper, which is designed to remove bulk. I make sure that the blades on it are well lubricated to avoid any streaks, folding, or pulling of the hair. The clipper I'm using here is the 380 ACP bicaliber. While performing this exercise, you'll want to use longer, steadier movements to ensure that the machine isn't leaving any hair behind. It's important to find the direction of the hair and cut against it so you achieve an even finish. It's also okay to crisscross your strokes in case you leave any streaks or dark spots behind. Now that you've established the top and the sides, it's time to get rid of the bald line. I prefer a fading clipper for this. The client already has a number 1 on top. If I fully extend the blade on my fading clipper, it'll be the same size as a number 1, which makes this blend relatively easy to accomplish. I begin with the blade on my clipper fully extended and I work my way across the section. Then I close my blade further and work my way back. I continue closing my blade further each time I work my way across that section while also working my way downward towards the guideline until it's completely blended out. Watch closely. I'm using the 50 cal mag by caliber, and I like it because it has 5 little notches on the side that allow me to see exactly where I'm at with the blade. I also appreciate that I can take out the bald line rather easily with this machine. Sometimes, even after you've done a whole lot of blending, you can still see kind of a faint little shadow of a line at the bottom when the light hits it, and it's pretty annoying. So what I like to do is I grab a zero gap trimmer and I try to take out that line that I see. The trimmer that I'm using is called the 38 Super by caliber. You want to make sure you go all the way around the head when you're performing this exercise. When I'm done fading, I like to go back and check my work. This process I call shading. Shading is a process that allows me to look for dark spots, dark lines, any little blemishes, and fix them. I want to create the illusion that the fade is well blended and well balanced. The clipper I'm using in this exercise is called the 357 Magnum by caliber. I don't really have a set pattern with this. I'm basically just stepping back, looking for any discrepancies and fixing them with this clipper. The guard that I have attached on this clipper is a 1/16 guard, normally used on wall seniors, wall magic clips. The caliber 357 Magnum can accommodate any wall guard. A lot of times when I'm shading, I find that it actually takes sometimes longer than the actual fade. It's because I'm trying to make everything perfect. I'm trying to make everything special with the shading part. Shading is a process that makes the difference between a good haircut and a great haircut. That's the best way that I can describe it. It really, really makes a big difference in the fade when you take the time out to look for little discrepancies and little dark spots and fix them. When you step back, you have such a beautiful uniform finish on that fade. It's incomparable. And that's why I take a lot of time to shade. Once I'm done with the haircut, I start the lineup process. And I start here, right at the corners, right at the temple area. It takes a really steady hand. The best thing that you can do if you're a beginner is to take your middle finger and place it right on the eye socket, as you can see that, like I'm doing here, and use your hand as a compass to make that nice round C cup. Now, the guy doesn't have any hair there, but you want to still act like he does. You want to make sure that that C cup is nice and round so that when you go over it with the razor, it looks really nice. When the corners are done, you'll want to move directly to the front of the client and start shaping up the front of that hairline. That's going to be the hardest thing on that haircut to accomplish. It's hard for every barber, no matter how experienced he is. The way to do it, the way I do it, is to stand directly in front of the client and start at the very middle, the center, right above the nose and start working your way out towards the corners. That's what you want to do. You want to make sure that that line is nice and straight. You don't want to move your body from side to side, because if you do, then you'll lose your place. Remember, you're trying to create a straight line on a round object. That's the challenge. So what you do is you stand directly in front of the client and you move your hand and your arm or whatever, but you do not move your line of vision. You want to stay looking at that line. Make sure that it's nice and straight. I'm using the Monster 99 by Caliber. When a client is wearing a mask, sometimes you'll leave hairs behind like this. So what I do is I just remove the mask slightly, and then I remove the hair underneath it. When you're finished lining up the top and the sides, you'll want to go back and clean it up with a razor. What I like to do is stretch the skin and apply the razor very, very lightly. In fact, I'm holding this razor with such a light hand that if you looked at me wrong, I'd probably drop it. That's how you need to hold your razor. You want to make sure that the razor is passing over the skin and cutting the hair. You do not want to press down. You do not want to dig in. Even though the client does not have any hair on the sides, I'm still going to use my razor to create a very light C cup. Now, when the light hits this C cup that I'm making, it's going to look very attractive. Now, while I still have my razor in my hand, I want to make sure that I go and clean up any hair that I may have left behind with the razor. A lot of that hair is usually around the ears, around the mask. In the barbershop, we have to use these masks, so a lot of the times hair gets left underneath the mask, as I said before. And of course, if I see anything on the hairline that I can do better, I go back and I clean it up with the razor again. I spend a lot of time with the razor because it's the razor that brings out the work. I just wanted to give you guys another vantage point. Again, I'm shaping up the client's hairline with the razor. I wanted you guys to see exactly how I do it, where I touch the client, how I stretch the skin. And again, I'm holding this razor with a very delicate hand. I'm allowing the blade to do the work for me. I'm not digging in. I'm not pressing down. I'm not trying to scrape the client's skin in any way. On the other side of the client's head, you can see that I'm doing the same thing. And because I'm right-handed and the camera is where it's at, you can probably see from a better angle. So that's why I included this clip in the video. This is how you apply a color enhancement. For this exercise, I'm using an airbrush filled with semi-permanent hair dye to match the client's hair color. Hold a business card to the client's hairline so the dye sprays onto the hairline and not the actual skin on the forehead. Use the airbrush at a slight distance. Spray lightly and evenly. Avoid spraying directly in one spot. A good rule of thumb for beginners is to start spraying a little before the edge of the card where it meets the hairline, then sweep up and away as you're spraying. This ensures that you don't leave any noticeable dark spots with the enhancement. The idea while using the airbrush is to leave the hairline looking as natural as possible. You don't want to leave it looking like you just got finished painting it. While enhancing the corners, you'll need two business cards. This way you'll be able to create whatever angle your client desires. In this video, my client has asked me for a basic 90-degree angle at the temple. After applying the enhancement, I brush it in with a regular hairbrush. I want to make sure that that color stays in even if he showers. After that, I apply a second coat of enhancement to seal the deal. Sometimes, after brushing in the enhancement, you'll find that the shade has lightened a bit. A second coat reinforces that color and further ensures that it will last. When I'm finished with the enhancement, I go back with a razor to make it sharp. The razor also cleans up any blemishes made with the enhancement. Here you see me repeat those same steps on the other side of the client's head. I've included this clip to give you another vantage point. On a side note, the semi-permanent hair dye I'm using in this airbrush is called Onyx Jet Black, made by Tomb 45. It is, in my opinion, the most effective enhancement on the market, and I've experimented with many of them. It does not shine, it does not clog the spray nozzle, and it requires no mixing. It also carries an attractive scent. Find it at tomb45.com. To finalize, I go back with one of my trimmers in case I left any hairs behind. And here's the finished product. All of the machines I've used in this video are by Caliber. If you're interested in purchasing new equipment, visit caliberprocorp.com and use discount code 555.